Now to Hollywood, and actress Robin Wright has joined Rosie O'Donnell and Ellen DeGeneres in fleeing the US. She now resides in the UK, and she said America is a shit show. Can we say that on TV? I think we can. I love being in this country. There's a freedom of self here. She also said people in the UK are really living. They're not in the car in traffic, panicked on a phone call, eating a sandwich. That's most of America. Everything's rush, competition and speed. CJ, is that your life? Just eating sandwiches, panicked and stuck in traffic? Are you unable to be yourself?
You know, thankfully, with President Trump making D.C. safe again, I can actually do a lot more things than wait in traffic. I can actually walk to my destination these days here in Washington. Here's what I'll say about Robin Wright and all the other celebrities who so-called wanted to flee America when President Trump regained the White House. You know, there's a saying that we have here in the South, in the States, don't let the good Lord, don't let it split you, or the good Lord split you, or whatever. And I think it's so interesting. People. They can go ahead and leave. They can get out of here. And I got to tell you, again, they don't speak for everyday Americans. The American people rejected their narrative of victimhood in November, and we're not going back to the America that they want us to be.
Well, there's a long list of celebrities, Hollywood celebrities, that promised to leave the US if Trump won. First time around, we had Whoopi Goldberg, Miley Cyrus, Amy Schumer, George Lopez, many others saying they're going to move if Trump wins. That was back in 2016. They didn't. And since then, we've had the likes of Sharon Stone and Cher and Barbara Streisand, among others, saying they would leave if Trump won again in 2024. How many of them have actually left the country, CJ?
Not a damn one, and not a damn one. I think we should deport them next. I think many people would actually be in favor of ICE needs any more people that they want to send over. And I'll actually use that saying once more, a little bit more articulate this time. Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. We're not going to miss these people, not at all. And the pomposity that they think their pronouncements that they're leaving are going to be welcomed with despair from anyone just goes to show just how crazy narcissistic these people are.
Now let's get some real news, not the left's sad fever dreams about Donald Trump. And the president has announced that US Space Command, the headquarters, is going to move from Colorado to Alabama. This is a major announcement. It's been 7 years in the making.
The US Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs, and probably much more than that, and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, and that's billions, because it can't be millions, it's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier.
CJ, how significant is this announcement?
It's a major one, and this is actually President Trump righting a wrong of the Biden administration, which hijacked this critical national security decision by politics, because they wanted to punish the state of Alabama for being a red state, for being a conservative one. But thanks to the incredible efforts of folks like Senator Tommy Tuberville, Katie Britt, Congressman Dale Strong, Barry Moore, many of those in the Alabama delegation, this has been finally reversed. And I think the people of Alabama are going to be very, very grateful for this incredible decision by President Trump.
CJ, Benny Johnson has responded to a hit piece by the New York Times. This is shameful, shameful reporting. They claimed there was no proof his newborn child was in any danger when his home in DC was severely damaged by an arsonist. Benny Johnson has released security camera vision of the incident. Have a look.
Anyone else? Anybody else?
Just terrifying stuff, CJ. You can hear the neighbours screaming as DC police use crowbars to rip down the door, black smoke streaming out. Benny Johnson says his home was rendered completely uninhabitable and his family had to live in a hotel for months afterwards. And yet you've got the New York Times going out of their way to target him. And it just shows you just how low the media will sink in their efforts to demonise people on the right.
No, you're exactly right. Every day the corporate liberal media shows that they just don't go low when it comes to smearing conservatives. They go to the basement of hell. They will stop at nothing to defend conservatives. They will stop at nothing to slander conservatives, all for the sin of loving our God, loving our country, and having the audacity to love Donald J. Trump. And I think that's exactly why so many people aren't buying what they're selling anymore. It's exactly why President Trump has coined the New York Times the failing New York Times, because people are sick and tired of their fabrications, and they're sick and tired of their lies. And thank God that Benny Johnson's fighting back. He's right to do so, because that's the only way these people are going to stop pushing us around.
Now, CJ, in the aftermath of the horrific shooting at a Catholic school in Minnesota by a trans-identified gunman, you highlighted just how far that state has fallen. Let's have a quick look at the leadership from Minnesota and their obsession with trans activism. Here is the Governor, Tim Walz, who famously put tampons in boys' bathrooms across the state.
Minnesota ranks the highest per capita for being a safe haven for transgender individuals in Minnesota.
Let's hear from the Mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey.
Minneapolis will continue to be a safe haven for undocumented immigrants, for our trans community.
And here is the Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison, bragging about suing the Trump administration over trans surgeries.
We'll sue them 44 more and 44 more after that. And we have sued them for gender-affirming care. Yes, we are not going to scapegoat our transgender community.
And finally, the Minnesota Lieutenant Governor, she may be the most unhinged of the lot.
When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen and to believe them.
CJ, I've got to ask, what is going on in the once great state of Minnesota?
It's been hijacked by the woke mind virus. And I think every single video that you just played is an example of that. For the LG to say, when our children tell them who they are, we should believe them, affirm them, all of these things. Probably told my mom that I was a fire truck growing up, but she didn't take me into the auto shop for an oil change. And thank God for that. Here's the deal. All the folks are talking about all these trans issues, this and that. They make up less than a percentage of the total population. Talk about jobs. Talk about protecting your communities. Talk about actually stopping these mass shootings from happening, not by taking away guns, but actually addressing the mental health crisis in this country, of which transgenderism is a byproduct of. There's all of these shirts that they want to wear saying protect trans kids. Yes, let's protect them from this idea that they should be mutilating their genitals before they're even 18 years old and old enough to vote and or do anything of any consequence on their own. It's absolutely shameful. It's just permissive child abuse. It's disgusting.
It is, and the tide has turned. Regular folks are now speaking out about this issue. For the longest time, it was almost taboo to state a mainstream opinion. It was like the 10% or 5%, whatever that activist group is, were dominating the discourse and making it unsafe for anybody else to actually state their opinion. That's changed, but has it really changed in those blue states? Are you seeing changes in places like California, New York and Illinois?
I think people are slowly waking up, because in a state like California, people don't really want to talk about the trans issue when fires have burned down their homes, right? They want to talk about that. They want to talk about how they're actually going to have safe communities where they can actually walk their kids at night without the threat of being assaulted by an illegal alien. Those are the minds on the concerns of everyday people and Americans, which is why you're starting to see the tune of progressive politicians like Gavin Newsom change, because they realize that they are in the losing of 80-20 issues. And so I think it's slowly happening. I don't think we're all the way there yet. The pendulum has not yet fully swung back, but I think that it is. And I think that's why so many people on the left are again changing their tune.
That's why I never even saw it as an 80-20 issue, because that 20%, so many of them never believed what they were saying. And that's why it's so easy for them now to change their positions. And Gavin Newsom is a very good example of that. CJ Pearson, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.